Once upon a time in Israel, there was a big showdown between good and evil. And I am so excited to tell you about it because today, we are going to talk about a man named Elijah and the fire that fell from heaven. Now, Elijah wasn't just any man. He was a prophet of God who stood for what was right even when everyone else had given up. And the story I'm about to tell you shows just how powerful he was. It's a story that has been passed down for centuries, reminding us that when we stand boldly for God, He shows up with power. Okay, so let's set the scene. Imagine, if you can, a vast open space with a crowd of people gathered around an altar. The air is thick with tension and anticipation. On one side stands Elijah, a lone figure representing the God of Israel, Yahweh, also known as Jehovah. Opposite him are 450 prophets of Baal, their faces painted with war makeup, bodies covered in new tattoos. These men were devoted to the worship of Baal, a false god of the Canaanites. Their leader, Jezebel, queen of Israel, demanded that they abandon Yahweh, the true God, and embrace Baal instead. The entire nation was divided. The people were tired of hearing about righteousness and holiness. They wanted excitement and thrills. They wanted miracles and power. And the prophets of Baal promised them just that. Baal, they claimed, was a god of the natural world, a bringer of rain and fertility, a protector of travelers. In short, he was everything that the Israelites needed. Well, at least that's what his prophets said. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't see, was that Baal wasn't real. He wasn't a god at all. There was no power behind his prophets' flashy displays. So then Elijah stepped forward, his face firm with determination, his eyes fixed on the altar of Baal. He challenged the prophets to a contest. Each side would build an altar and call on its god for a sign. Fire from heaven, he declared, would prove which god was the true and living God. The stakes couldn't be higher. If Baal's prophets won, the people would continue to worship Baal. If Elijah won, Israel would turn back to Yahweh. But it wasn't a fair fight. The prophets of Baal had numbers on their side. They had the queen's backing. They had all the fancy rituals and chants. Elijah had none of these things except for his faith in Yahweh. Still, he agreed to the challenge. As the crowds watched intently, the prophets of Baal got to work. They built an altar to honor their god. They chopped up some wood and laid out the pieces in front of it. They cut themselves and sprinkled their blood on the altar. They shouted and danced before it, begging Baal to send fire. They cried out, "O Baal, hear us, O Lord, if you have regard for at all. Answer us now by fire from heaven." Again and again, they called on Baal, but there was no response. Silence hung heavy in the air. Meanwhile, Elijah rebuilt the altar of the Lord. With 12 stones, one for each of the tribes of Israel, he laid them in a circle, symbolizing the covenant between God and his people. Then he put the wood in place and arranged the pieces of the sacrifice beside it. When all was ready, he prayed, "God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, let it be known this day that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant, and that I have done all these things at your words." There was something different about Elijah's prayer. While the prophets of Baal had cried out to their God over and over again, Elijah had prayed just once. He didn't doubt God's power. He didn't question God's willingness to help. He simply made his request and waited. And when he did that, something amazing happened. The people of Israel began to stir. They whispered to each other, "Could it be? Was God really going to answer?" Just then, fire erupted from heaven. It fell on the sacrifice, on the wood, on the stones, and even on the water in the trench. Everything was consumed in an instant, leaving nothing but smoldering ashes and a strong smell of burning. A hush fell over the crowd as they watched the fire dance and flicker, their eyes wide with amazement and disbelief. They had witnessed something truly extraordinary, a miracle from God himself. The prophets of Baal were terrified. They realized that they had been deceived, that Baal wasn't a god at all. He was nothing but a lie. Then it happened. The people fell on their faces, crying out, "The Lord, He is God." "The Lord, He is God." As the realization dawned on them, their voices echoed across the valley, carrying their repentance and their newfound faith. They had seen the truth. They had heard the answer to their prayers. And in that moment, their hearts were changed. When Elijah saw this, he knew that God had answered his prayer. He had brought his people back to him. He raised his hands toward heaven and praised God for his power and his mercy. Friends, this story is more than just an exciting tale from the past. It's a message for us today. It reminds us that no matter how overwhelming our problems may seem, no matter how great the opposition, God is greater. He can turn things around in an instant. And here's the best part. We don't need to build grand altars or perform elaborate rituals to experience God's power. We just need faith. We need to believe in God's promises and trust in His plan for us. You know, life can get pretty tough sometimes, right? Problems and worries can weigh us down, making us feel like we're all alone in this world. But the story of Elijah and the fire from heaven gives us hope. It tells us that even when we're surrounded by troubles, God is with us. All we need to do is call out to Him, just like Elijah did, and He will answer us. Remember, God isn't far away. He's not hiding from us. He wants to hear our prayers, and He longs to help us. So whenever you face challenges or doubts, remember the story of Elijah. Remember that God is in control. Trust in Him, believe in His promises, and you'll experience His amazing power in your life. Now, I want to ask you something. What challenges or worries are you facing right now? Maybe you're dealing with school problems or issues with your friends. Perhaps you're struggling with your faith or feeling left out. Whatever it is, I want you to know that God cares about you. He wants to help you through your problems. Take a moment to close your eyes and talk to God. Tell Him about your worries. Ask Him for guidance and strength. And listen for His voice. It might not be a voice you hear audibly, but it could be a voice that speaks to you through His word, through a friend, or even through your heart. After talking to God, write down what you think He might be telling you. What advice would He give if He were talking to you personally? How would He help you understand your problems? Sharing your thoughts can be a great way to start. If you don't feel comfortable sharing with anyone, that's okay. Just keep talking to God. He's always listening and He loves you very much. So go ahead, talk to God. Ask Him for help. Trust in His promises and believe in His love for you. Because just like He helped Elijah and the people of Israel, He will help you too. Thank you for listening to my story today. I hope it has brought you comfort and given you strength. Remember, no matter what you're going through, God is with you. All you need to do is call on Him and He will answer. Have a wonderful day and may God bless you.